Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking with you about genius designer, a king of licensing, Red Couturier, how the media called him because of his rather close ties to the communist states. We are talking about Pierre Cardin and his obsession with the USSR. Unfortunately, Pierre Cardin, a designer who exploded the fashion of the 60s and 70s with his groundbreaking space age, passed away on the 29th of December, and the Soviet Union is a big part of his life. As much as Pierre Cardin admired the USSR admired him back. So let's dive straight into it and find out about this rather complicated affair. Pierre was born in 1922 in a small town in Italy and was the youngest out of his 11 siblings. Soon after his birth, the family immigrated to France. Since the very young age, Pierre was not like other boys. He didn't like playing with soldiers, but preferred sewing clothes for the dolls. At the age of 8, he was not just sewing clothes for his dolls, but also for his family. When he was 13, a local tailor hired him as an assistant, and after that he was just moving around from atelier to atelier, just experiencing and learning new styles. He even tried working in costume design and designed the costumes for the film Beauty and the Beast of Jean Cocteau that was produced in 1946. For a while, he was working with Elsa Schiaparelli and eventually landed himself a job with Dior in 1946. Interesting fact, Pierre Cardin was denied a job with Balenciaga. But Dior is a person who taught young Pierre to really value what he's doing and charge as much as you can. So at the age of only 28, Pierre Cardin opened his own fashion house. In the 60s, Pierre Cardin gained popularity not only as an avant-garde designer, but a witty businessman. Although his fashion colleagues were looking down upon him for putting his name on furniture, tableware, and even electronics, and selling his products in the department stores, his brand pretty quickly reached an annual turnover of $1 billion. Apart from his marketing genius, Pierre Cardin introduced man to the Edwardian silhouette, a look composed of long, elegant jackets with wide lapels and brass buttons paired with the boldly patterned shirts and ties, while also revolutionizing women's wear with geometrically abstract dresses that deliberately ignored the feminine figure. A move something was intended to express female emancipation. In 1963, Pierre Cardin first visited the Soviet Union, and after that he returned more than 30 times. But why? In the Soviet times there were two symbols of the Dolce Vita, Pierre Cardin and the land alone. Yet Couturier's obsession with the USSR began not with the country itself. What impressed him was the first man going to space. He was a Soviet astronaut, Yuri Gagarin. This first ever space travel really changed Pierre's mindset. As he remembers, Yuri Gagarin opened a whole new world for me, the world of an endless space. So the origin of Gagarin basically sparked the interest of Cardin to visit his motherland. He then made space travel a theme of his multiple collections in the 60s and 70s. He openly admitted that his revolutionary female outfits resembling spacesuits were conceived in his mind from photographs of Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space. His space collection, inspired by Yuri Gagarin's flight, became emblematic of his work and the development of 1960s fashion as a whole. Cécile Breton wrote that Cardin was a member of the Martian school, his young models were equipped for any science fiction activity, their hats protected by crash helmets, firemen's masks, or culinary weapons. They are silhouetted like pads, torpedoes, or rocket missiles in light, hairy materials. They are in the advance guard of those exploring outer space. Pierre Cardin's visit in 1963 as a member of diplomatic mission to the USSR was rather culture shock. He woke up in the middle of the night and found out that his watches just stopped working. So he went out to the corridor of the hotel where he was staying to find out the time, and immediately he was picked up by a massive, strong woman and thrown back into his suite because he was naked. As he found out later, the woman was a guard on the floor. Another time when he went to Moscow happened when the French president at the time, Georges Pompidou, came for a visit. When Pierre got back, he met with the First Lady, and she started jokingly complaining that Pierre Cardin is more popular in the USSR than her husband, and even showed an issue of newspaper Truth, where the interview with Pierre Cardin took way more space on the page than the news of French president coming to the Soviet Union. In the 1970s, Pierre Cardin was considered the main Western fashion star in the USSR, and his political loyalty opened him many doors. Cardin's creations could be bought only in special shops called Berezka, not available for the general public, and his personal friendship with the ballerina Maya Plisetskaya made him popular with well-heeled bohemians. Cardin met Plisetskaya at the Avignon Theatre Festival during her 1971 tour of France, and went on to create costumes for many productions starring the prima donna, the most famous being the Bolshoi Theatre's legendary ballet interpretation of Anna Karenina. The ballerina also willingly modeled Cardin's ensembles in everyday life, which served as the best possible advertisement in Soviet high society. Pierre Cardin made good friends with the Soviet elite, and particularly fruitful was his friendship with Gorbachevs, especially the First Lady Raisa Gorbacheva. Thanks to this friendship, by 1986, his dresses were produced on the 30 factories in the USSR. So the dress from Cardin became something affordable for the regular Soviet woman, although little did they know that the dress had been produced in Siberia and not in France, as they used to think. Back in the Soviet years, Pierre Cardin actively promoted the Soviet culture to the West. For example, he brought Russian rock opera, Juno and others by Mark Zakharov to France, and then during the period of Perestroika, he brought the opera to the US. Cardin was rumored to be an accomplished singer himself, and he loved performing pieces from Zakharov's opera in his restaurant, Maxim, the chain of restaurants owned by Pierre Cardin, and one of them actually opened in Moscow in 1998, but at that time Pierre's popularity in the region was already decreasing, so it just didn't stand the chance to competition. In early June 1991, Cardin, as a UNESCO ambassador, visited Chernobyl. He talked with people who returned to their native villages after evacuation, and at the end of the same month, the fashion designer had a show on Red Square. At that time, no one imagined that the USSR was only a few months away, and the Iron Curtain would soon collapse forever. One of the biggest displays of Cardin mania in Russia was the 1991 fashion show held right on Red Square. It was reckoned that up to 200,000 people attended the show, unprecedented for the country. Maya Plisetskaya wrote later, "I stood next to Cardin in disbelief, asking him to pinch me harder, wanting to make sure that reality is not a dream." The couturier himself called the show one of the most exciting moments in his life. The last time Pierre Cardin came to Moscow in 2013, he was awarded the Order of Friendship for his fascinating input in the Soviet fashion. Never short of modesty, Pierre Cardin bought a Lacoste castle and pretty much the whole village around it in the early 2000s and brought his family there. And unexpectedly, even there was a trace of the Soviet influence. The fashion designer installed a sculpture park in his palace solely with the works of Russian sculptors. As Pierre Cardin was realistically more of a businessman than fashion designer, his legacy cannot be underestimated, and his influence on the Soviet culture was insane. He showed people that they can wear beautiful clothes. He gave a Soviet woman this dream of a French dress from Pierre Cardin. Unfortunately, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Pierre Cardin lost his influence over the region, and Eastern European women didn't really want a French dress from Pierre Cardin. She wanted a Versace blazer, but that's a topic for another video. Thank you very much for watching it to the very end. If you're here, then don't forget to like, subscribe, bell. You know what to do. And see you in the next one. Bye.